Welcome to the program once again. We're starting with the Electoral Commission, and some concerns have been raised recently about the delay in the passage of the Constitutional Instrument 91, which regulates the processes leading to the 2016 polls and its implication for the process. But with some 4 months to go to the polls, is there an undue delay in the passage of the CI 91, or is it much ado about nothing? My colleague and our man in Parliament, Elton Broby, joins me now to throw some light on this. Elton, now there's been a lot of discussion on the CI 91. It came up first when we were trying to amend the law to hold the polls in November. Why is this such a big issue now?
Well, I'm trying to bring myself to understand the concerns that people are raising. Remember that this was laid in Parliament on the 8th of July 2016, first gazetted in Parliament. Now, the constitutional provision is such that once an instrument is brought before Parliament, it must travel the 21 days before it can be passed into law. Now, before Parliament went on recess on the 5th of August, the instrument had done 20 days.
Okay.
1 day short of being passed into law. Okay. And so we will have to wait till they are recalled, either for an emergency session or a day, or in October, as we have been told, before the 1 more day can be added before it can be passed into law. Until that is done, we don't have a CI 94, which is to regulate the conduct of the 2016 election. In the absence of a CI 94 or an election regulation, the truth is that we will not have an election in this country. So this is crucial.
But do you see that happening? Because what we have heard from others is that, well, this is much ado about nothing, because when Parliament reconvenes, they can sit for 1 day and the law can be passed.
Exactly. And the information is that barring any other invitation for Parliament to sit, they are likely to come back in the 3rd week of October, and they will sit for 3 weeks. It is not only this CI that requires some attention of Parliament, or that requires some agency on the part of the Electoral Commission for a successful election in 2016. Remember, before Parliament went on recess, and because the governing party was unable to amend the Constitution to allow for elections to be held in November, the majority leader laid another instrument to give some clarity to the December 7th elections. Because in the Constitution, there's no clear date as to when we should have election. Exactly. It says that 4 months before the expiration of the sitting government, and for members of Parliament, 1 month before the expiration of the sitting. So there's been a convention that let's put all together and have 1 day for an election. So that's how we've always had elections in December. Now, what the government was seeking to do was to give a meaning to an election date, and that is to amend the Constitution and say that we should have election on this date in November. Unfortunately, the majority could not bring all their forces together to have that through. So the majority leader laid another instrument, and that is to say that elections will be held in November, in December, on December 7th. So beyond the regulation, which is 1 day short of coming into force, there's also the date on which we'll have that election. So we have 2 issues that are crucial before we can talk of any elections in December.
So we have about, you said Parliament is reconvening in October.
Yeah, the 3rd week of November, and they will sit for 3 weeks.
A little over a month. A little over a month.
Exactly.
Exactly. Is that going to, in any way, does that have any implication for the electoral process from now till October?
If you read through this document, this is the CI 94. The EC, they have a lot to do from now till the election itself. Now, this document, barring any HS, will come into fruition where Parliament sits for 1 more day. Exactly. There's also the issue that it can be, be thrown out. Okay. For some other reason. The EC will have to get this passed and then use this to train their electoral officers. The political parties must have access to this document to know what they are supposed to do on election day. It talks about everything, including punishment for people who may misconduct themselves on election days. It talks about when you can transfer your votes 42 days before the opening of the voters register, when you can transfer that vote from one constituency to the other. It talks about what needs to be done on election day at the various polling centers. So the EC must get this document, train their members well so that they can conduct themselves according to the dictates of this document on election date. If the 10 doesn't match, well, it means they'll have to bring before Parliament another document. My expectation is that even as the thing is going through the maturation period, they would have started training their members on what is in this document.
Very well.
This is, the crucial point that we'll have to cross if the elections are to be done on a successful basis. So we have two issues, the regulation and the election date itself.
Very well. Thank you very much. That's Elton Brobe, our correspondent in Parliament. Well, the Member of Parliament, Obi Amwa, has been speaking on this particular matter. He says the concerns may be exaggerated.
Article 11.7. It says that any other regulation or rule which is laid in Parliament must be gazetted on the day it's laid and must stay in Parliament for 21 sitting days after it's laid. So if you count the sitting days after it's laid, it means you count it after the day it's been laid. And then every day that we sit is counted until you get your 21 sitting days. The regulations on elections. What we had was CI 75 for the 2012 elections. Now the EC is making new regulations for the 2016 elections. So that is what is known as CI 94. As you know, it has to be in Parliament for 21 sitting days. And the last count, day we were rising, it has stayed in Parliament for 20 sitting days. So there's one additional day required for it to come into force. Any time that we are called to Parliament, barring any hitch, it will then become a law to be used for the 2016 elections.
Western region, which has become the toast, if you like, of the two major political parties over the last few days. MPP flag bearer Nene Akufo-Addo recently left there after a 5-day campaign tour. Today, his main rival in the 2016 elections, John Dramani Mahama, is officially beginning his campaign for re-election with a first stop in the Western regional capital, Takoradi. The region has been in the spotlight as the two main political parties try to win the hearts and minds of the people there. We can go on the telephone lines now and speak to Joy News' Kweku Owusu-Pepra for more on this. Good afternoon to you, Kweku.
Good afternoon.
Now, interesting coincidence, isn't it, or not? Because President Mahama begins his campaign in the region shortly on the heels of Nene Akufo-Addo's tour. Are residents there also noticing this coincidence?
Yes, people are saying that the president is just here to water down any other thing that the candidate Akufo-Addo might have said or promised or talked about in propaganda or educated or meant in his days of tours in the Western region. So the president is just following the steps of Akufo-Addo to also drum home his point and to diffuse every point that Akufo-Addo might have made in his tour. Now he's at Axim. Earlier in the morning, he was at Abra and Agona Kwanta to speak with the people and to touch base with them. And the crowd that followed or poured out onto the streets were massive. At Axim this afternoon, he's been telling the people that indeed the people of Axim and the people of Ghana have known and are living witnesses of whatever the NDC government have done for the people, and that it is not time for them to listen to speeches about test me and know that I am real, test me and know that I am gentle, that I can transform this nation, that he has done it. He is a living testimony and the people have seen it, and therefore they should vote for him again in the 2016 election.
Now, Nanado has been speaking of what he will be doing for the region. He's been talking about some of the policies his party will put in place if he's elected president, such as the Coastal Development Authority and, dividing the region into two. What is the president offering to the people of Western region, even as he kickstarts his campaign there?
The president has not really started debating or discussing that issue yet. I'm sure that when he gets to the upper part, the northern parts of the region where the issues about dividing the region into two was raised, he will then go there and address the issues, and then we'll know his position regarding this matter. But we've been speaking with some of the party faithfuls, the NDC communication people and regional executives, who are not really sounding like they support or they see the feasibility in the president or the NDC party thinking that the region deserves a division. Ordinarily, they have almost always thought that if you link the region up very well with good roads, it will be one good region that can stand as a consolidated area, as it has always been. So, as the day goes on, I'm sure that all of these analysis will come to play. But today, at Exim, he also touched on education and emphasized that education will be strengthened. The 3-year, 4-year debate was also mentioned intensely, and the NDC's position was re-amplified in that discussion.
All right, thank you very much. That's Joy News correspondent Kweku Owusu Pepra there. Let's analyze the region further, and we're joined on the line by Dr. Brenya. He's a senior political science lecturer at KNUST. Many thanks for your time, sir. Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good. Now, we know that the Western region is traditionally a swing region. How crucial is this region to the fortunes of both parties?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the able listeners of our journey. Coming up to your question, I think that the region is very crucial to the fortunes of this political party because as you can see, the Western region has as one of the swing regions in Ghana's election. Many a time, the way Western region goes, most of the time, to determine.
I beg your pardon, Dr. Brenya.
Hello.
If you could kindly speak up, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Very well. Go ahead.
Yes, I was saying that the region is very crucial for the fortunes of the political party because it's serving as a swing region, and that no wonder that you see both political, candidates, the presidential candidates to the region. For the NDC, it is very crucial because it actually adds up to the whole idea of ensuring that they keep the Fanti constituency. And as I indicated this morning, the president started off with the central region by the launch of campaign where he was there to, in a way, assure the region and the constituency that he promised to continue with the good work of President Atamil that he has delivered. In terms of infrastructure, I thought that the Cape Coast Stadium that was chosen as the center for the launch of the party was the party's campaign was very symbolic for the party to show to the showcase to Ghanaians and to the regions that they promised to continue with infrastructure, which was supposed to be the backbone to economic relief. And now he's moving on to another region, which also has a license of the Fanti constituency. The region, Western region, very crucial. If you look at the last election, 2008, NDC had about 11 seats, MPP had about 10, CPP had 1. When it comes to 2012, in terms of the percentages, and MPP had about 31%, 30.77%, and then NDC had about 69% of the vote that was cast for the president. And you could see that from 2008 to 2012, there was a margin. The NDC increased its margins in terms of the votes that it acquired for the presidency. And I think that the strategy for the NDC at this moment is to ensure that they can actually continue to maintain, if anything, enlarge or increase the support base of the Western region of the Western region, focusing more on the party constituencies that the president promised to show solidarity to help to continue the work of ex-president Atamil. And I think that the fight for that constituency is very crucial because in other constituencies are Ashanti region where the president knows very well that they might not be able to actually take over seats. The strategy in Ashanti region, for instance, has been that the president increases the vote. And if you look at since the start of the Fourth Republic, the NDC has continuously been increasing their votes. So the target in terms of the kind of candidates that they have placed at certain constituencies is to ensure that they actually increase the vote of the president, so that if they're able to maintain the vote from the Western, from the Central, and those ones that we could call their World Bank, their voter rating, Upper East, Upper North, Upper East, Upper West, when all this comes together, then at least they will make sure that they are not losing anything. And the Western region play a very crucial role. Right? So these two parties are at this moment struggle and doing everything they can to see that if the region is going to swing, that is swing in their favor.
Very well. Thank you very much. That is Dr. Edward Brenya. He is a senior lecturer at the KNUST in Kumasi. Let's stay with the electoral process and the exhibition process in particular, because the MPP officials in the Doma Central constituency in the Central region is headed to court over what they describe as the refusal of EC officials to give them challenge forms. Constituency organizer Seth Asari tells Joy News they petitioned the commission after they were denied the challenge forms by 4 EC officials in that constituency.
We are not contesting the legality of the ongoing exhibition exercise. Rather, we aired out our complaints against some misconduct of some of the exhibition officers and officials of NDC during the exhibition exercise. So that was what was contained in our press conference. You could all remember that the running mate of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, said that along the border, there are a lot of foreign names on our register. And that was fairly contested by the NDC and then the Electoral Commission. So we took it upon ourselves as members of the party along the border to go and investigate and find out how many people are on our registers who are not Ghanaians and who are not residents in the towns and areas they have registered. And that research has gone on for about a year now. Now, the opportunity has availed itself during the exhibition exercise. You remember that the CI 91 gives us the opportunity to go through the exhibition centers and then object to names that we feel are not supposed to be on the register. And that was exactly what we sought to do at the various exhibition centers, where the list that we had, the list that our people along the borders had prepared for us, and then we had investigated them and had found out that all those people on the list were living beyond the border. That is, either in Ivory Coast, in Burkina, or some of them even came from Niger to come and register. These exercises didn't go through smoothly like we expected it to be, because some exhibition officers resisted it, claiming that we had to go and bring those people who were objecting to physically to the exhibition center before they could allow us to object to their names. We have our evidence, and the CI doesn't tell us to show our evidence at the exhibition center. The CI mandates us to object to the names and then meet those people at a magistrate court to provide our evidence.
And you're accusing the electoral officers of doing what exactly? Of preventing you from raising these concerns?
Not giving us the objection form. Their duty is to give us the objection form, fill it for us, let us print, then I will indicate my address on it so that the Electoral Commission can serve me as it serves the person being objected to. We are in court on the basis of those who we objected to, not the EC officials. As for the EC officials, we have already given it to our lawyers.
That's fine.
To serve them, and then when they are served, that one to be heard later on.
And so that's Seth Asari. He is the MPP organizer in the Doma central constituency in the central region. Now, officials of the opposition New Patriotic Party in the Whole West constituency in the Volta region have challenged the eligibility of some 171 voters on the electoral roll. The party raised the objections to the said names during the just-ended nationwide voters register exhibition exercise on the basis that the persons are not residents of the communities in which they registered as stipulated by the Public Elections Regulations 2016 CI 91. Reports suggest that 72 of the names were found in Avatime Bejeme, while 58 of them were challenged in Togome, as well as Tebu and Beje communities. Now, the Progressive People's Party has been talking a lot this week, and it's indicated that it will reduce the number of ministerial appointments to a maximum of 40 when voted into power. According to flag bearer of the party, Dr. Papa Kwesi Indum, who was speaking at the unveiling of the party's presidential policy team in Accra, he said a PPP government will look to cut down on government expenditure through recommendations from its public sector reforms team, with the downsizing of ministers of state as one of the key reforms.
We always talk about, we need strong institutions. Well, we are not just using our mouth to talk about it. We are saying we are creating a team that will go and bring to Ghanaians what is it that we are going to do to make that possible specifically. We have made a commitment somewhere, and we want this team to make sure that they also keep us to our word, that we will reduce the number of ministers of state to 40. And when I say 40, that is counting all of them, whether they are in a region, whether they are a deputy, or whether they are the minister of state. 40. That's it. Now, that will be made possible because we will rely on the professional civil service, and to make them strong enough to do the work that they are supposed to do and not make them political. So that's what we want to do. Number 3 has to do with...
And that's PPP flag bearer Dr. Papa Kwesi Indum indicating that his government will cut down the size of ministers to 40. Whether that's possible or not remains to be seen. But that's how we wrap up the show. Join us same time tomorrow. I'm Arba Kumson. The Pulse is up next.